shops, bars, restaurants, and banks like most of these downtown behind me use thermal paper cash receipts just like this one. Signs like this are posted in different neighborhoods that have agreed to be a part of the Community Watch program. They told me that distributors are still sending the Fireball whiskey for them to sell because it has not been banned in the United States. As you can see, the railing is bent and the road is eroding into the creek. Standing in front of the Cole County Health Department where a press conference was held earlier today at 3:30 regarding a false claim of Ebola. Expanding cargo shipping at the airport is just an idea for right now, but plans may come in the future. I spent the afternoon knocking on doors to all three neighborhoods, but most neighbors were concerned for their safety if they went on camera. Well, this right here is the complaint from Broadcasting Music Incorporated, or BMI, in New York City. Well, Jamie, we talked to almost every school board in mid-Missouri, and no one right now wants their teachers to carry a weapon on campus. Most schools said it's due to the fact that they already have protection officers on campus or on call, and the program is too expensive. Mid-Missouri school boards are hesitant to allow teachers to carry guns on campus, even though the Missouri legislature passed a law that would allow them to do so. The law would allow schools to delegate one or more of their staff members to conceal and carry after participating in extensive training. Although the bill was voted on and accepted, it does not require schools to adopt the idea.
Legislature's credit, they allowed each individual school board to make decisions based on this bill.
If a school decides to train a teacher, they must hold a public meeting regarding the decision and then request training for the teachers through the Department of Public Safety. Now, these are the training requirements right here. Teachers must have 112 hours of training by the Department of Public Safety or have 600 hours of prior law enforcement training to be able to carry. Once the teachers are trained, they must keep the weapon concealed at all times, and they have the power to detain and arrest like any other law enforcement officer. Most schools we talked to, however, already have a law enforcement officer, security officer, or resource officer on call whom they trust to protect the schools.
He is rehearsing a school shooting every day. Every day he comes here, there's a shooting in his mind, and he is reacting in his mind all the time.
Another reason some schools aren't arming teachers is the cost of the training. It will cost more than $17,000 to train 2 teachers or school employees.
We don't think that's a good use of our taxpayer dollars and our teachers. And we believe that teachers were hired to teach, not to protect our schools in that regard.
Most schools also have other safety measures to protect their students, including buzz-in systems, intruder and self-defense drills, and protection training. So they don't think adding more guns is necessary.
We've actually had safety devices in place for several years now. The buildings both of the buildings you have to be buzzed in. Both secretaries in this building have a phone that they can see the person on the screen. We are on constant lockdown all the time.
One district that might add guns is the Columbia Public Schools, but they won't be arming teachers. The district is working on a new security measure that would include allowing their security directors to carry guns. However, the district was considering these measures before the bill was even passed.
The role of an educator is to teach in class, and that there are law enforcement officers as well as our safety and security officers who are trained to handle those types of crisis situations and trained to handle a gun in an appropriate atmosphere.
As for the new law, no school has asked for training yet, but some say this does not mean they won't in the future.
I can see both sides of the coin. It's just not right for us at this point in time.
To see what school protection plans are in your kid's school, visit our interactive map at KMU.com. You'll be able to click on each district and find out if they responded to our calls and reasons for not allowing teachers to carry.
There's a picture of poverty in many.
I'm standing in front of the Rustic Road Bridge, which is narrow and is actually rusting in some parts of the bridge. Now, to make matters worse, the alternate route, which I'm standing on right now, flooded this morning, causing some parents to have to keep their kids home from school today. Neighbors have been complaining about this bridge for about 3 years now, and some are worried that their concerns are not being heard. People here say the Rustic Road Bridge is in need of a makeover. The bridge currently cannot hold more than 3 tons, which is about 3 pickup trucks. Last year, the county put in a temporary bypass to please people nearby. However, this road is now flooding, making the bridge the only passable route.
We have big rains coming again tonight or even tomorrow, and the question is how much longer is this bridge going to be able to take the trees banging into it, and how many times are we going to have to wait for the bypass to be fixed.
This morning the bypass was flooded with water and debris from the creek. School buses will not go over the bridge or through the bypass, so people who live past the bridge must take their kids to the bus stop each day.
We have to get up early, take our kids to the top of the hill for the school bus to pick them up. Then we have to leave work early and come back and pick our kids up at the top of the hill and bring them back home.
Although the road is said to be under city maintenance, the Boone County Resource Management is taking the lead on the project. But after 3 years of planning, neighbors are beginning to worry about the bridge staying put. Now, as you can see, the railing to this bridge is already dented and the concrete is already going into the creek, making residents on the other side of the bridge feel like this bridge is unsafe to pass. I spoke with the chief engineer at Boone County Resource, and he said the bid was put into MoDOT earlier this September, but they have not heard anything back yet. Residents hope construction will begin soon before more flooding. In May, KMU8 reported that this was going to be one of 2 bridges that will be rebuilt with the geosynthetic reinforced soil technology. But as you can see, that has not happened yet. Reporting live in Columbia, Meredith Miller, KMU8 News. Teachers promoted or fired based on student standardized test scores and contracts not exceeding 3 years. This could be the future for Missouri teachers if Amendment 3 passes. A petition that received enough signatures in August put the amendment on the ballot. The amendment states that schools will no longer be able to give teacher contracts that exceed 3 years, which affects teacher tenure. Currently, teachers receive tenure after 3 years of work, but this would not allow for tenure anymore. The other major change for teachers says that teachers could be promoted or fired based off a standardized test they must give their students.
Educators in the classroom would be held, would only be able to be evaluated through a 3-year cycle at the minimum or at the most, and then you also would have children who are taking multiple tests to prove the worthiness or not worthiness of that educator in that classroom.
The amendment states the test must be approved by the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and must include objective content that can produce quantifiable data to see if the teacher is doing his or her job.
A school district that receives state or local funding must get state approval for a evaluation system that's based on objective standards which aren't defined in the amendment, using data that's not defined in the amendment, but it must be tied to student performance.
The results of this test can determine whether a teacher is hired or fired, whether their contract is modified, or if they will be placed on administrative leave if necessary. Now, this is the amendment right here, and as you can see, it is not very long. But this one-page document can mean a lot of changes for local teachers. Now, there have been a lot of supporters and opponents for this amendment, but one of the biggest controversies has been money.
The majority of the monies is coming from a local community. So the reality of additional testing and finding funding for something like that a school district wasn't budgeting for or planning for some school districts, that can be devastating.
While opponents for the amendment, including school administrative, principal, and district groups, have been very vocal lately, the supporters have pulled back. In September, the amendment's major supporter, Teach Great, and major financial supporter, Rex Sinkfield, pulled their support when they saw the amendment was not polling well.
Great released and said that their polling, it showed that they were not going to get to pass it, so they weren't going to spend any more money on it.
Teach Great and Rex Sinkfield declined interviews but confirmed they no longer support the amendment. Missourians will be able to vote for Amendment 3 this November 4th. Meredith Miller, KMU8 News, Columbia.